sir?
I'd like a drink, please. One. To make sure it's cold.
Will there be anything else, sir?
No, thank you. One.
Carlsberg, probably the best lager in the world.
Right. There seems to be some confusion about the best way to receive television from the Astra satellite. You won't need one of these, or these, or these, and definitely not one of these. You need one of these, the Amstrad Fidelity satellite dish and receiver system. Right now, you can receive 7 channels of Sky Movies, Sport, News, MTV Music, Kids, Lifestyle, and Light Entertainment. Many in glorious stereo, and with more to come. So use your head. Get your Amstrad Fidelity satellite system at the right price right now.
Tuesday the 16th. Oh, things aren't the same without Mum, especially the cooking. We'd have been eating the same old thing for centuries if I hadn't insisted on something more adventurous. Findus crispy pancakes. We had minced beef pancakes one day and chicken and bacon the next. We really got stuck in.
Findus crispy pancakes. Every day's got a different taste.
Mum's still stuck in hospital having my baby sister. I hope she likes crispy pancakes.
Hey, Dora. Hey, Crow.
Yep.
If you can tell me how many different fruits are in mixed fruit Kiora, I'll let you find out what all 4 of them taste like.
Fruity mixed Kiora. Oh, boy, oh, boy. 1, 2, 49.
No.
3.
No.
7.
No.
1.
£100,000 to be shared out in the Roundtree's Fruit Jackpot competition. Look for details on Fruit Pastels, Tutti Fruities, Polo Fruits, Jelly Tots and Fruit Gums. You could be one of over 1,000 lucky winners in the Roundtree's Fruit Jackpot competition.
If I live to see the 7 wonders, I'll make a path to the rainbow's end. I'll never live to match the beauty again. Rainbow's end.
Oh, the sun has gone easy on. The sun has gone easy on, and it's boy, what's your game? Oh, the sun has gone easy on. The sun has gone easy on, and it's hello, darling, coming out to play.
We can't control the British weather. Thank goodness we can control gas. Controllable, economical gas. The heat of the moment.
This is Vision Express, the new kind of vision center, where you can choose from thousands of frames, then watch us custom grind your lenses in about an hour, even bifocals. Listen.
Even my Varilux lens were made in an hour.
I got photochromic lenses.
Brought the glasses out in 35 minutes. Totally unbelievable.
I've seen it and I believe it. Watch us make your glasses in about an hour. Vision Express, Metro Centre, Eldon Square below the food court, and now Cleveland Centre, Middlesbrough.
Golden-coated breast of chicken, delicious mayonnaise, and fresh, crisp iceberg lettuce. All in a specially shaped, lightly toasted sesame seed bun.
Make your day. Make your way to the San and Sancho welcome. New McChicken sandwich makes your day.
The new McChicken sandwich. It's why people cross the road.
Designed without compromise, tested without mercy. A new Renault 19 from £6,520.
Prudential Property Services can show you thousands of houses you won't see anywhere else. Uncover them with Prudential Property Mail, free from your local branch.
If I live to see the seven wonders, I'll make a prayer to the rainbow's head. I'll never live to match the beauty of care. Rainbow's
Just before noon on Tuesday, May the 30th, the body of Sandy Douglas, a divorcee aged 45, was found at her home at Aycliffe Village in County Durham. She'd been murdered. Detectives say a man who looks like this was the last person to be seen with her in the village around 24 hours earlier. It's believed his name is Marcos. He's aged about 20, 5'9", of average build with dark curly hair and dark complexion. He spoke little English. Police are anxious to speak to him. However, it's likely he's now back in London, where he met Mrs. Douglas. You may have seen him on his way from Aycliffe to the railway station at Darlington. Or you may know where this camera is. It belonged to Mrs. Douglas and is missing from her home. It's an Olympus AF-10 with the serial number 1823428. If you can help find Marcos, please ring Crimestoppers on 0800 555 111. Your call is free, you don't have to give your name, and you could be in line for a Community Action Trust reward. Remember, if you can help with this or any other violent crime, ring Crimestoppers now.
Body Heat. William Hurt and Kathleen Turner, a woman worth dying for on ITV.
But we want him dead.
A Woman Worth Dying For, 11:15 tonight on ITV.
Starting shortly on Channel 4, UB40 plays the blues. Next on Tyne T's, the ITN News.
Darling, how's the au pair?
Homesick. Francois, got some real French food tonight. Et voilà.
Findus French crepettes.
Oh, you savez them?
Oui, oui. Smoked ham and cheese, c'est délicieux. And mushroom crepettes. Magnifique.
New Findus French crepettes.
A little encore?
Made in France, enjoyed in Britain.
Really moving occasions demand pictures that really move. The Amstrad Fidelity Videomatic camera, the whole shooting match for just £499.
For lots of softness and strength. Andrex Family Tissues.
Do you love anyone enough to go over Niagara Falls in your designer suit?
Yeah!
To arm wrestle an octopus? To tell a guard dog to keep off the grass?
Bad doggy.
To give someone your last Rolo. Soft, creamy toffee in a milk chocolate cup. Well?
I am thinking about it. Honest.
If we were to suggest that the Rover 200 series improved your performance, or led to a quieter life, or even did wonders for your social life, you might be intrigued, but not entirely surprised. However, when we tell you the Rover 200 series comes to you for less money than a dozen sets of professional golf clubs, that you might find rather incredible. But from only £8,380, the Rover 200 series is rather an incredible motor car.
d'amore e la luna balla in splendore. Just one cornetto, give it to me, delicious ice cream of Italy. Its taste is just supreme. Give me cornetto from Wall's ice cream.
The news from ITN.
400 rounded up in China as the purge gets underway. Dock shop stewards call for an all-out strike from Monday. Lamb leads England's cricketers away from the slaughter. And the new teeny star of tennis topples Steffi. Good evening. China has launched a purge against pro-democracy demonstrators just a week after the massacre in Tiananmen Square. Hundreds have been arrested and state-controlled television has urged people to turn informer so that the leaders can be tracked down. Tonight, long columns of tanks and troop carriers were seen leaving Beijing, their job of crushing the protests apparently now complete.
This is a wanted man, targeted on Chinese television tonight for spreading rumours. The caption below says, "Ring the hotline, turn him in to the authorities." Even more sinister, this interview was actually filmed by an American news network 4 days ago. They used only 10 seconds on air. Somehow the Chinese media ran 5 times as much. The crackdown is proceeding with a vengeance. Today, the government admitted for the first time that some leaders of the unofficial students' union had been rounded up, even those who'd gone into hiding. They named one arrested activist and urged others to give themselves up or face severe punishment. It seemed the young students who'd led the pro-democracy movement were being hunted down. The only arrests shown on state television were of so-called hooligans, peasants and workers allegedly caught in the act, attacking troops and burning army vehicles. 400 were picked up in the capital today, many seen confessing to their crimes. A pitiful lineup of miscreants paraded as a warning to anyone who dared to challenge those in power. They were hammering home the message that counter-revolution would be smashed. The image now being projected was of the government restoring stability, the populace applauding its methods. The pictures were often bizarre. A peasant who travelled 4 hours to give his pigs to feed the patriotic soldiers. A director of the Bank of China trying to dispel rumours of a panic run on the bank. The defence minister and army generals visiting injured soldiers, now being portrayed as the innocent victims of last weekend's violence. Behind this barrage of propaganda, China's communist government seem to be trying to obliterate all memory of the students' campaign for freedom and democracy. Jeremy Thompson, ITN, Beijing.
In a separate development, an ITN journalist, Peter Newport, was briefly detained in Shanghai. He was told to leave China because of activities incompatible with his visa. His news videotapes were confiscated. One of Hong Kong's most important government officials has strongly attacked the suggestion that only the richest British passport holders should be allowed into this country. Dame Lydia Dunn said that it would divide the colony and fail to ease the fears and anxiety felt there. Labour's Gerald Kaufman, who's visiting the colony, has also demanded a fair deal for all British passport holders there. The Catholic Church in Hong Kong has held a big open-air service of remembrance for those who died in China. The leaders of the wildcat dock strikes have called for an all-out stoppage in Britain's ports from Monday. Their own union has appealed to them to stay within the law. The port employers say that any national dock strike would be suicidal.
The shop stewards who attended this meeting represent about 70% of the registered workforce. Only 3 abstained from the decision to recommend strike action, those representing Hull, Southampton and Manchester, where dockers have already refused to strike. If the recommendation is supported by members, there could be an all-out unofficial stoppage next week.
Come Monday, the registered soft workers in this country have already participated in a national ballot and decided by a 74% majority to come out on strike. That's our confidence. Every registered soft worker is convinced what is taking place in this given industry. And he is saying it very, very clear that he's not going to allow this government the lawyers or anybody else and the National Employees Association to remove conditions that he's fought very, very hard to achieve.
Ron Todd, Secretary of the Transport and General Workers Union, tonight asked all dockers to work normally until after the appeal court ruling has gone to the House of Lords. About a third of the registered workforce is now involved in unofficial action. The port employers say any increase would result in lost jobs.
Well, I very much hope that the dockers will not listen to the unofficial shop stewards, but will listen to their General Secretary and will abide by the legal situation as currently outlined.
So far, the unofficial action has had limited effect. Most businesses have shifted goods away from strike-hit ports. Cargoes are being loaded onto lorries and shipped by roll-on, roll-off ferries.
Neil Kinnock has accused Mrs Thatcher of being anti-British and of reducing patriotism to what he called a tin pot Boadicea Act. He was speaking in the final run-up to Thursday's European elections. Conservative leaders dismissed him as spiteful and vulgar. The Democrats said the election should be more than a two-party squabble.
Mr Kinnock was in the northeast today for a miners' gala that took on the flavour of an election rally. What's really rankled the Tories were the words he used in criticising Mrs Thatcher for allegedly undermining traditional British values and national institutions like the health service.
I'm not very bothered about the fact that what she says is anti-European. The community is big enough to be able to deal with that. What I dislike is something very different. It's not the fact that she's anti-European that bothers me very much. What I detest is that she's so anti-British in so much that she does.
And the man must be a fool. Whatever else you might say about the Prime Minister, and I know a number of people say a number of things, the one thing you wouldn't say about her is that she's anti-British.
Now the Democrats say the election's become a slanging match.
It's doing damage to the cause of European unity. It's not helping our future in Europe. And I guess it's putting a lot of voters off when they should be voting to go positively into Europe with a positive attitude, which is what we offer.
When the European election campaign was launched, it was so low-key many people didn't even know it was happening. But with polling just a few days away, the parties are pulling out all the stops and the campaign's becoming increasingly bitter and acrimonious. John Draper, ITN, Westminster.
The pop star Chrissie Hynde has said she deeply regrets if remarks she made about McDonald's hamburger chain led to a firebombing attack today on one of the company's restaurants in Milton Keynes. No one was hurt and damage was slight, but a large area of the central shopping centre was evacuated. Police are investigating if there's any connection with Miss Hynde's remarks made 2 days ago at the launching of a Greenpeace record. Miss Hynde, who campaigns for animal rights, has been asked by McDonald's lawyers to promise not to repeat the remarks. Tonight, she said they were made in jest.
I, of course, deeply regret the firebombing in Milton Keynes, and I thank God that no one was hurt.
Would you accept that anything you said might have actually led to that happening?
Nothing I said.
The Prime Minister has announced a major British aid package for Poland. It includes a £25 million grant to help the country develop a more Western-style economy. Mrs Thatcher pledged the aid after meeting General Jaruzelski today. She said that Britain's readiness to help followed moves to greater democracy in Poland.
It's a trip that would have been unthinkable 8 years ago. The man who declared martial law to crush a free trade union was today greeted warmly at Heathrow by the Foreign Secretary. He spoke with Sir Geoffrey Howe for half an hour, but the real talks were at Chequers, where the Polish leader lunched with the Prime Minister. The two had met before in Warsaw, where Mrs Thatcher had expressed her qualified approval of Poland's slow progress towards a more liberal society. The country's now held its first partially free election with sweeping victories for solidarity. The General's reaction to that has clearly pleased the Prime Minister.
Delighted with the way in which the President has of course, accepted the results. It's the beginning of a new democracy.
Their talks were mainly about the fragile Polish economy. Mrs Thatcher will back the General's pleas to reschedule the repayment of international loans. But there was a less cordial welcome at the Polish embassy. This evening, opponents of the Jaruzelski regime had gathered there to see him arrive for a reception. Their demonstration just yards from the Chinese embassy, with its own pro-democracy campaigners. So far, though, the Polish delegation has been pleased with this trip. Tonight, the general himself described it as an historic landmark. Graham Bowd, ITN, Central London.
Soviet army officers say rioting is spreading throughout the whole region of Uzbekistan tonight. 500 Soviet Turks, the original focus of ethnic attacks by the majority Uzbeks, were airlifted from their home of Fergana to safety by the military today.
Tonight, special troops flooded into Uzbekistan as mobs threaten the region with a total collapse of law and order. They've been brought in an effort to contain the inter-ethnic violence that even officials acknowledge is now spiralling out of control. A curfew is in force, those on the streets challenged by armed soldiers. Even public transport has been mobilized to bring in reinforcements. Local hospitals are treating hundreds of people with gunshot wounds. Most of the victims are Soviet Turks. Their property has also been targeted by the gangs of local Uzbeks. Here in the town of Kokand, dozens of houses have been destroyed by petrol bombs. No clear reason for the violence has yet emerged, but the ethnic strife has now spread to general rioting. At the airport, planes have been arriving to ferry the beleaguered Turks to safety at Moscow. At least 500 are reported to have already left Uzbekistan. Whether the security forces can regain control without imposing martial law has now become a vital question. The weary troops are faced with the worst violence in the Soviet Union for many years. Robert Moore, ITN, Moscow.
And there's been another rail tragedy in the Soviet Union. A train rammed into a bus on a level crossing at Kamenskaya, killing 31 people, 2 of them young children. Steffi Graf loses her French Open title, but England are fighting back doggedly against the Australians. With that and the rest of the day's sport, here's Mark Austin.
Alan Lamb came to England's rescue at Headingley with his first Test century against Australia. The Australians declared at 601 for 7, and England needing 401 to avoid the follow-on at 284 for 4.
Alan Border decided to try to rub English noses in the dirt by not declaring this morning. Tailender Lawson prolonging the agony, pushing the Aussie total to their highest ever on this ground. 600 was more even than Bradman's team could manage. And with 400, the psychologically difficult follow-on target, the pressure was well and truly on England. Alderman made the first breakthrough, trapping Gooch in front after an hour. And when Hughes produced an extraordinary slower ball to totally bemuse Broad, England were in trouble. But Barnett, who was only playing because Gatting was injured, hit the ball like the Aussies had yesterday for a fine 80. An attempted streak was quickly interrupted by Yorkshire Stewards. It might have disturbed Gower, who played one of his airy flicks to get himself out for 26. But Lamb, not for the first time, came to England's rescue with an innings that proved this Headingley pitch, at least, was full of runs. His 9th Test century couldn't have been better timed or appreciated more by the hero of Headingley 81 and his latest captain. He made light of his fateful decision to put the Australians in on Thursday.
I think we got it right, actually. We always said it was going to be a good wicket on Friday and Saturday. It was just a minor misjudgment with Thursday, I suppose.
A 17-year-old Spanish girl has pulled off the biggest tennis shock of the year. Arantxa Sanchez beat the world number 1 Steffi Graf in the final of the French Open in Paris. It was a stunning victory that deprived the West German of her 6th successive major title. It was a match every bit as extraordinary as Michael Chang's defeat of Ivan Lendl last week. The Spanish girl won the first set on a tie-break, Graf looking jaded and lacklustre. The world number 1 recovered in the second set, overpowering Sanchez and heading, it seemed, for her 3rd successive French title. In the final set, Graf duly led 5-3 and served for the match.